You straight up cuckooed that dude, bro. Oh my God.
You've got all your Charger gear on because
I look good. I got big energy every day.
Let's go! And he is dead.
Blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while.
That's right.
You have to love what you're seeing on tape if you're a Chargers fan, especially for the future with Justin
Herbert on the move and throws and touchdown.
Good ball, Herb.
Players, coaches, staff, fans, together we can create something truly special.
Stay tuned for some good content.
Well, hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the Charger Chat. I'm your co-host, Will Dog, sitting with my buddies, Kev, Hug, and Duggan.
Hi, guys.
Hey, Kyle, the Coach Duggan.
What's up, guys?
We're back, baby. It's, there's been a surprising amount of news that's come out this last week. This is an exciting off season, folks. Lots to talk about with the Chargers. But the biggest news that's happened is not Chargers related, but you can't help but not talk about it. This massive trade that's happened prior to the Super Bowl even going down.
Yeah.
Jared Goff from the Rams to Detroit Lions, sending off Matthew Stafford. And the Rams are also sending out 2 first-round picks and a third.
Dude, it's crazy.
What?
Somebody posted a picture of this, and it was in 2016, Goff, they traded 2 picks to get him, and now they traded 2 picks to get rid of him. So Goff has been responsible for 4 first-round picks.
Holy cow.
So what a mistake that was, huh?
Dude, the Rams are all in on winning. Like, I feel like ever since they went to LA, they're just like, okay, spend as much money as you need, give up as many future draft picks as you need. We need to win right now.
We will make you like us. I'm going to hit you over the head so hard you're going to love us with how aggressive we're being.
Dude, he just signed a 4-year, $134 million contract with them in 2019.
Pretty sure that's why they gave away those first-round picks. They're unloading his contract, his massive multi-million-dollar contract. No?
And no, when they got a taker. And so they're basically, Stafford is not on a cheap contract either, but the Lions just basically have a more expensive quarterback now on their roster. And he's not better than Stafford. He's not better than Stafford by any means. But that's the difference.
The Lions know they're going to lose for the next 2 years anyways, because their roster is just not at a place to win. So they go, hey, screw it. We'll take Goff, but you're giving us those first-round picks. And then in 3 years from now, we'll be hopefully ready to go with our bite kneecaps off guys that we're going to draft.
How do you guys feel about having Justin Herbert now?
Oh, it's
just, I can't believe what we went from Phillip Rivers for 16
so
years,
lucky.
Right? God, it's just always in the back of your mind if you don't have a quarterback. Constantly. I wonder what we're going to do. I was talking to a guy tonight who's a 49ers fan. I'm like, what are you guys going to do about quarterback? He's like, I don't know. Hopefully something. It's like, you don't know what's going to happen, who's going to come, where they're going to come from, and you just kind of hope it works out.
And that's this league now. It's quarterback-driven league. Like, you have to have a quarterback to win these. You're not going to be able to get all the way to the show with a second tier, third tier quarterback. It just doesn't work like that anymore.
Yeah, that's what's so strange. Goff's not a bad quarterback, right? Like, they got him to the playoffs twice.
He was in the Super Bowl.
He was in the Super Bowl. He was just in the Super Bowl.
It sounds a little. It feels like a little.
Extension.
Yeah,
it's a little impatient, in my opinion, for the Rams. I don't know why they're just moving and shaking.
That's what's so weird about it to me.
They got guys to win right now, and they need to win right now, and they clearly don't think he's the guy. I think people are saying, because everyone's in love with Sean McVay, that he's good because of what Sean McVay did. And to be honest, that's where things point, right? His rookie season before McVay got there, he was trash. He was like a complete bust as a first overall pick. And then McVay comes in and he turns his career around. So how much is it that McVay is making him look good and he's not actually that good? And if you give him a good quarterback like Matt Stafford, it's just going to be that much more insane.
He's going, Goff's about to go to the Lions. We're going to find out real fast.
There you go.
Yeah. He cashed in, but yeah.
It's a multi-million-dollar experiment.
He's going to go enjoy that Jared Goff golf backyard after Detroit stay.
Just thinking that. But, and that was the most you'll hear about the Rams on this podcast.
That's right.
For a good long while.
Enough about a golf course. And I don't even want to talk about this trade. Now, this feels like such utter garbage.
Let me set this up. So the news that Deshaun Watson was going to get traded was like this huge thing. Like he wants a trade, blah 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 blah. So this writer from ESPN, Bill Barnwell, basically made Charger Twitter explode. I posted something kind of early when it came out, and just exploded. So basically, he was looking at all the teams and trade scenarios for all the teams, and where he has us ranked is the 8th most likely team to trade for Deshaun Watson.
What?
It's blasphemy.
It's the most. Let me just tell you,
the 32nd team.
Let me
like
read
that
this
to
for
do
you.
this.
It is just ridiculous. So he has the Chargers sending the 13th overall pick in 2021.
That's this draft.
Yeah, so the first round pick, 2022 second round pick, the 2023 second round pick, and Justin Herbert, and we get Deshaun Watson and a 4th round pick. What the fuck are you talking about, man?
No, we're like in so many ways. No, our quarterback is on his rookie contract right now. That's gold.
Right.
You're telling me we're going to give you our, in my opinion, Pro Bowl rookie quarterback and draft picks, and then we're going to take on Deshaun's gigantic contract
No.
for a guy that's being pissy and is demanding to leave.
Right. Yeah, we need that.
This makes
It's
no
blasphemous.
sense.
It
I
was
know.
funny too because this was all a hypothetical scenario this guy was playing out, and
It's cute.
it started out as that, but then it kind of when tweets start happening, and then you kind of lose the intent as they keep rolling down the hill. By the end, by like a couple days ago, people were like, "Wait, we're looking to trade Herbert." No. This is a such a stupid hypothetical that it just got out of control. So, yeah, that was that. I just had to bring it up because it pissed a lot of people off, and
we need to kill that. Just guys, this is not real. This is never,
It couldn't
ever would ever happen.
This feels like a troll post of like somebody trying to post something that's like, what can I post that would just upset Charger fans immensely? And I know. How about the rookie quarterback?
Yeah,
and multiple draft picks for Deshaun Watson, who it's not a bad quarterback, but like,
no, it's great, but no,
no,
it's like I saw something. I think like a poll or something that we are the most like active on social media, like fan base,
Mm-hmm.
and this is a good way to get your article out there is to troll the most active fan base on social media, so that's all they can talk about.
Right,
it's crazy. It's that crazy. It's like you can't overlook it when you see your team being brought up as a trade partner.
Right.
Yeah,
it's just you're looking for clicks. You're not actually posting anything worthwhile. You're just clickbait at that point.
Yeah.
What?
Uh-oh.
Hang on, guys. There's somebody at my door. Hang on. Sorry.
So we totally decided to surprise Wolldog with for his birthday today. It's his birthday. He is getting some cookies delivered. So when he sits down, Kyle,
I'm so excited for him.
happy birthday to you.
What?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Adam Wolldog Woolley.
Oh my
Happy
goodness.
birthday to
you. We should have done our famous, like our favorite voices that he does and tried to do a voice. Happy birthday.
Well, happy birthday, Wolldog.
Thank
Enjoy
you.
some cookies
My
from your
goodness.
Charger Chat brethren.
Folks, I just got like this tray of, it's warm. That's frightening when somebody hands you a warm box of, I open it up. It's delicious cookies, folks. There's like chocolate chip and Butterfinger. This looks like a churro and this looks like an animal cookie with sprinkles. Jesus. Good
So
Lord.
happy birthday, dude.
Folks, Crumble Cookies. We need a sponsorship, Crumble.
I know. I
Where
think
you
that's our
at?
new every sponsor is Crumble Cookies.
My
Hopefully they hear it
goodness.
somewhere.
I'm glad
All
that
right.
worked out. Happy birthday.
If you hear me
Surprise.
with a mouthful of cookie, I apologize. But yes, this is my birthday, and the Duggan boys surprised me with some warm, delicious, fresh cookies. So thank you, boys.
Of course, my friend.
You're
Yeah.
welcome, of course.
I need to wash this awful taste of a terrible trade proposition out of my mouth. So let me move on here to the next topic. Kenneth Murray posted something about having some kind of surgery it caught us all by surprise. Like it
came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I'm almost like, are the Chargers going to be in trouble for never putting that on the injury report, that he's just been like broken all season?
That's what concerned me. Like, when we found out about this, apparently it was something about a torn labrum. Labrum was frayed.
Yeah.
Had a crack, and he had the injury for a while. Supposedly he had it all season. Now, when I talked to the Duggan brothers, I said, what's your immediate reaction? And it's like, dude's a tough son of a bitch, played through, a whole season with an injury. Like, what a stud. Like, imagine how he's going to be next year if he doesn't have that injury, which I 100% agree. But the thing that concerns me is, like, how can you go a whole season with an injury, never have it on the injury report?
Because he didn't tell anyone.
See,
because he's a man's man.
Like,
no, so here's what I love everything about this, because he's so fucking tough that he just isn't going to tell anybody. And it was kind of interesting because they had he started a YouTube channel with his girlfriend, and they're starting to show stuff. And like one of the first videos they did was his surgery, and they gave us like a full-on like 10-15 minute video of him like going in there doing all the stuff,
like the doctor talking.
Yeah, they had video of the doctor talking, and the doctor basically told them that he had an injury from a long time ago. I don't know if it was the beginning of the season, but from a while ago.
It made it sound like college.
Yeah,
like it made it sound like it's been around.
Yeah, like a labrum problem for a long time that he's just fought through. And then when you nurse an injury, sometimes you put more pressure on a different part of your shoulder because you're trying to favor it. And he did it too much, and he basically tore he pulled the ligament from his shoulder. So the doctor had to go back in and reattach that, fix that. And I had no idea. And it's just kind of crazy that he's such a man about it and didn't complain, or no one knew about it. I don't see it as a problem. If he can play some of those things, you can play through. You just tape it up and continue. But the one thing that was interesting that he said, on that video, is that he was talking to the doctor after the successful surgery, and he was a little loopy from all the drugs. And he said, I'm fitting to go for 200 tackles this year, Doc. And the doc replied, I didn't do this just for some part-time workout there, buddy. So he's good. He's in good spirits. Doesn't seem like, seems like he'll be good to go for everything that, training camp and all that stuff, but get that surgery done quick and be even better next year. More, better shoulder.
I mean, is there a concern of trust?
Negligence?
Well, yeah. I mean, negligence, but okay, if you're not going to tell us when you're hurt, I mean, we know now what this injury was, but if you're not going to tell us when you're hurt, isn't there a possibility of getting hurt more or compounding the injury to the point of well, now you're out the whole season. You could have just been out a couple of weeks, but now you're done for the whole season. Thanks a lot. I'm not saying that that's what it is, because I don't really know the full story with Kenneth Murray, but I
think there's levels of injuries. These guys are always hurt. NFL players are always in some form of pain or treating themselves in some way. And some injuries you can play through. He was able to play through this. So I think the doctors aren't negligent. They would have, if he wasn't able to play, he wouldn't have played, but he played almost every snap. So I don't see this as a negative. I don't see any reason to be worried about this. He's just a tough MF.
Yeah, I think it's every football player. Phillip Rivers played a playoff game on a torn ACL. Was that negligent? That's probably not the smartest thing to do in the world. But these guys are where they are because they've played through. They're tough. They've played through bad little hurts, not injuries, but hurts. And I'm sure if we've had draft picks that are high sit out whole seasons. Forrest Lamp didn't play for 3 years.
Right. Yep.
So it's not a matter of, no, we drafted you first round, you have to play. I'm sure he sought advice and they said, look, it's going to hurt, but you're not going to make it worse. So it's up to you. And he clearly chose to play, which I think speaks to his character of, look, I want to be part of the team. I want to make an impact. I want to be a leader. So I think it's a good thing, but I do understand the concern of dude, don't be dumb. Don't injure your career by trying to just play through something, but it must have not been something that could have got worse. I don't know.
It's just weird that it was never listed on the injury report. I can understand, if Kenneth Murray's listed every week with a shoulder injury, but he's still playing, that makes sense to me.
He never missed a practice, so maybe you don't need to list him.
I don't know. I mean, people with injuries still get listed with full practice. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know the whole complete ins and outs. And I'm not, accusing Kenneth Murray of withholding information. But that was part of my immediate reaction hearing that, but especially after having to go through it the entire season. It'd be one thing if it happened in the last game, but to play through the whole season for something that it eventually required surgery, to me was at least concerning. Dude's obviously tough. There's no doubt about that. I mean, to set a single, the rookie record for most tackles in a season while injured is insane. Like, how lucky are we to have this guy? Yeah, no, it's absolutely, admirable, but I don't know, man. Injuries can just feel like, especially with the Chargers, like things can go from bad to worse so fast. Like, it just feels like a thin line to walk.
Or maybe it's the flip side, though. Maybe we have a culture of people being dinged and saying, "Nah, I can't play anymore." And he's like, "Screw this. No, I'm playing through this. Let's change this culture around."
Coach, I gotta not play today.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I'm kind of, in my way, I'm kind of proud of him. So good, tough MF.
Absolutely tough. No doubt about it. And I'm not accusing him of anything. Just take care of yourself, Kenneth. Please. I don't want to get scared like this again. But get better soon. All right. So some tweets came out from Joe Reedy and Gilbert Manzano in regards to Darius Swinton and Ronaldo Hill on their reasons for coming to play with the Chargers and their experiences with our new head coach, Brandon Staley. Joe Reedy tweeted from the Chargers defensive coordinator, Ronaldo Hill. Everybody in that room, not just Staley and myself, but Joe Barry to give to Derek Ansley in the back end, to Tommy Dontel, and to all those guys, we will collab and come up with the best plan. And Gilbert Manzano said Darius Swinton said he accepted Chargers special teams coordinator job because of Brandon Staley. He said Staley was in every special teams meeting when they were assistants in Chicago in 2017. When I read this, knowing what has been happening this offseason, we've practically been getting completely new coaches, which we got a few more. We'll talk about those in a little bit. But it's almost an entirely brand new staff. And to know that these guys are talking to each other, collaborating together, not just like, okay, wide receivers are working with wide receivers, quarterbacks are working with the quarterback's coach. Like, everybody's kind of working together feels kind of cool. No, I mean, like, is that a normal thing, Kyle, from your experience as a coach? Like, is it really that collaborative, or is it just something, is it like I expressed, where everybody kind of works with their own team?
Yeah, I've never coached in the NFL, so I don't know what that's like. In my thought process, there's a lot of alpha males in the coaching world. And when you're the defensive coordinator and your job's on the line, I can imagine there's probably some people that don't necessarily want to collaborate with everybody. You may have one or two, or your head coach, or special like relationships you have with some people that you bring them in. It may be the other way. Maybe this is status quo. But even if it is status quo, it's pretty cool to hear from the DC in his opening presser talking about how, look, title is a title. Like, we're here to be a staff together and put this thing together. Because obviously Ronaldo Hill, this is a hire. This, like, in my opinion, is the kind of the perfect fit of a hire for who we would need it as a quote unquote DC when they're not allowed to be the play caller. Mm-hmm. It is kind of just a little bit of a title, which is good for him. Obviously, resume is huge, but
totally,
it does speak to the fact that, yeah, our head coach Brandon Staley is the play caller, but he's not doing every single ounce of legwork that goes into creating a game plan. Mm-hmm. These guys are collabing together. So I think for me, one of my main concerns in hiring a coach and just in general, a head coach as a play caller is, do you have enough time and mind space to handle everything else going on? And it sounds like he brought in somebody you trust that doesn't need that role, or hasn't maybe not necessarily even earned that role yet, to come in and help do a lot of the legwork. So I thought that was awesome to hear from him. And it sounds like Staley's made it clear that this is what you're here for.
Yeah, it feels like this last season felt like communication was an issue on this team as far as what are we going to do in these scenarios. And it caused some confusion on the field, visual confusion that we could see, especially on special teams when it got to those points. So to hear that everybody is on the same page, we are working together, I mean, that's just, it makes me smile, man. Like it just like everybody's a team. We're all together. It's a big family.
We're
like
friends.
and it's all new coaches. Like, I don't know. Like that just feels really cool to me. It's not everybody doing their own thing and focusing on what they do best. Like it just, I don't know. It seems really cool. It seems like a really nice collaborative effort, especially with all these new coaches, some guys in positions that they've never been in before. It's exciting, folks. Let's see. So as I mentioned, yes, new staff. It was announced Chris Beatty will be the new wide receivers coach from Pittsburgh, no less, coming over to the Chargers.
Pitt, not Pittsburgh. He's a college coach who has never coached in the NFL before.
Ooh.
So he's had coaching. Yeah, it's his first NFL gig. He was with the Pittsburgh, Maryland, Virginia, Wisconsin, Illinois, Vanderbilt, West Virginia, Northern Illinois, Hampton, and then 3 high schools. So he's, coach must have seen something in him to bring him in as his first.
I was going to say, I don't see Dayton on here. There's no Dayton.
I know there should have been a Dayton
connection
to keep this real, right? But yeah, he's 47, so he's one of our oldest coaches.
Nice.
He's definitely the AARP card of the of the coaching staff.
Of the staff, yeah.
the newest guy is the oldest guy, which is awesome.
He'll get them all discounts on popcorn at the movies.
Get you into that buffet real good. Get you real cheap free popcorn at the movies. So yeah, but it's he clearly is doing something right. There's just nothing NFL wise to contrast. So hopefully he's good, because we have a lot of wide receivers that need to get coached up, and some young guys that did really good last year that still need to improve. So hopefully this is the right move, and we'll see. It's exciting.
I don't see how it couldn't be. I feel like Brandon Staley is kind of a mastermind right now. Obviously we haven't played any games yet, so I can't really confirm that he's a mastermind, but with the way that this hiring has been going on, as opposed to relying on the staff that's been there prior, or, maybe even talking to some of the players and go like, hey, what'd you think of McGagan or any of the other previous, position coaches, is totally bringing in new people as if he knows who these guys are and why he wants them in these positions and what they can bring to the table. He seems like a smart enough guy to know that. So even though some of these guys just don't have that kind of experience, obviously there's something special about them that Staley sees in the same way that the Spanai saw in him to bring him on, who's never had a head coaching gig, only had one defensive coordinator
when he
gig.
zigs, when he's zigging, I think everyone else is zagging. I think there's an element of like, these coaches are coming up and it's like we can't be mad or frustrated with them because we don't really know who they are.
You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Here's what's interesting to me. I think on the offensive side of the ball, he could have gone very conservative.
Sure.
I just think he's not an offensive coordinator. That's not what he does. He obviously has a background being a quarterback, but he's putting together his staff. To me, I put myself in his shoes. You're taking big. I feel like some of these hires, like we're shamelessly positive podcast that love the Chargers, and we will not speak ill.
Damn right.
But Skippy.
Like some of these hires they're bold. They're bold moves. Like he has a lot of faith and trust in these guys. Because so that's the one thing on Staley that everyone was you need to hire an offensive minded head coach to fit with their quarterback Herbert for the foreseeable future. That way they don't have to change. But what he's done he's gone out and got Joe Lombardi, who did not have a great stint with the Lions and got let go after a year and a half. He's hiring wide receiver coaches that have never coached in the NFL. And now I'm not saying they're bad hires. We will not know until things play out. All I'm saying is he's bold. He's making bold moves and decisions that are strong. Like they're not conservative. It's not a conservative way of going about business. He's making some real decisions here, and it speaks to the kind of coach he's going to be.
I think, and the Spanai dude, you got to give them. And no one likes to give the Spanai credit, but they're
giving him control.
They took the reins off. They kind of is letting him do his thing, and it's one of those things where hopefully his first time out, he's making these right calls, and these guys are all work out next year, because then he'll get even more freedom and he'll be able to make even more calls and more decisions. And So hopefully these work out. It's a real question mark on a lot of the guys, but hopefully it'll work out well for Staley.
100%. Next on the new coaches hire, we hired Shane Day. He is the new quarterback coach coming to us from the 49ers. So everybody say goodbye to Pep Hamilton. Pep,
Yeah.
we love you, dude.
We love you, Pep.
I mean,
Good luck, dude.
I don't know many fans that call out a quarterback coach and say, dude, we love you, man.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't happen too often. So,
Well, it's not very often that you have a rookie quarterback that breaks every record in the book, and
Sure.
you want to attribute it to the quarterback coach, you know? So, like I said in previous episodes, we don't know how much he did. We have no idea what kind of a coach Pep Hamilton is because we didn't sit in the meetings. We didn't sit in the quarterback room.
No.
We don't know. Like, we know. Here's my point: is we know how good Justin Herbert was,
Right.
but we don't know how much of that is based on what Pep Hamilton did, and how much of that is based on just how good Justin Herbert is.
we don't know the level, but we definitely got a glimpse of it when we were watching
Hard
Hard
Knocks.
Knocks, when
Yeah.
we got to see Pep talking to Herbert and coaching him up in some of those
Right.
minor instances. Now, obviously,
you
we
got a
can't
glimpse.
compare that to the whole thing, but you got to see at least enough of it to know that Pep definitely had some influence over how Justin played. Justin is still Justin. Justin's still, going out there. He's the one that's actually making the plays and doing everything. But we could at least know that Pep was in his ear and at least talking to him, and you could see improvements even from,
For sure.
episode to episode on Hard Knocks. You could see Justin Herbert making those improvements. So
I think Shane Day, this is like one of the weird ones. Like there's so much pressure on this guy because I think Staley's going to be able to deflect that a little bit. Lombardi is Lombardi. We'll see what happens. But this is like one of those guys you're never going to hear a press conference from. You're never going to hear him talk really. He's not going to have like post-game interviews. You don't get that from a quarterback's coach. So this is like one of those things I think a lot of us are going to keep an eye on and see like if there's any regression at all, and knock on wood that there is with Justin.
right.
He's going to get a lot of the heat. So this is a
Do you know what I was thinking about the other day? Is the idea of a sophomore slump, right? A lot of rookie quarterbacks have great years. They in their second year in the league, they for some reason or another they tail off. People like to think that it's other teams. They have tape to watch and they'll be able to pick up on tendencies and know what they do well and be able to shut it down. I wonder if, like, as much as none of us wanted to see everything get flipped on its head, I wonder how much of a all new coaching staff, new play caller, new philosophy is going to help prevent a sophomore slump. Like you can go watch tape and see what Justin did well last year, but that might not be anything what our offense looks like and what he does in the upcoming year. Like obviously the deep ball, that's not going away. Justin does a great deep ball and you can do things to limit that. But I just wonder if this will help a potential sophomore slump because everything's brand new and other teams don't know what's coming.
Yeah.
We don't know what's coming.
It's tough to tell. We're shamelessly positive, dude. It's gonna get better. I don't care. It's gonna
it's gonna get better.
It's gonna get better. I mean,
there's no
all great
negativity from me
hires.
right now
A
whatsoever.
grade from all of us.
yeah. I mean, I love Anthony Lynn. That very apparently held us back last year. It was the coaching. To go from Anthony Lynn to Brandon Staley, who the only mark on his record is he just doesn't have the experience, but by all accounts is a team builder and has the respect of just about everybody in the league. Like, I don't see how this goes in any bad direction whatsoever.
Oh, careful.
I'm just saying. I don't see it.
that.
I don't see it.
Yeah. No, and the thing is, what's so wonderful about being a part of this podcast with you guys is that we have these goggles. They're like beer goggles, but they're love goggles. And if we're not playing any game, well, and just get ready, whoever's listening. Like, we're not playing games, so there's nothing for us to really be negative about.
Right.
So you're gonna get 7 months of just being positive about who we
positivity.
have. So we all need a little positivity in our lives right now with all the craziness that this world is.
100%.
So we have the best coaching staff that ever existed, guys. That's just how it is right now.
There you go. I mean, it's so easy to look at the negative and nitpick and find things about a situation that you don't like, especially when we're hiring practically all new coaches. It's so much more fun to be positive and excited and just anxiously looking forward to the next season because, I mean, right now, because of Justin Herbert and because of all the other players that we have that are coming back, I can't help but be excited, folks. I'm sorry. I'm not negative. And
it's your birthday,
and it's my
so you can be excited
goddamn
if you want.
birthday. So
It's
get
your
off
birthday
my
and
back.
be excited if you want to.
Birthday. Happy birthday.
Good one, Kyle.
Yeah.
We also hired a Sean Sarat. He's the new assistant offensive line coach, coming in at 41 years old. He is from the Steelers. That I know, thanks to Tom Pelissaro. He is coming from the Steelers.
I think something interesting with this one is that you guys remember last year. They brought in our 1-year offensive line coach Campen,
Right.
And he kind of got Bulaga. It kind of came over, which if he was healthy, he would have been a good player last year. So,
But he wasn't.
I guess, where's the what happened to the shamelessly positive, Adam? What the fuck
There's
just
two
happened?
things that will not be shamelessly positive about it. It's Trey Turner and Brian Bulaga.
Okay.
It's injuries. We cannot be shamelessly positive
well.
about injuries.
All right.
There's a difference between
right.
shamelessly positive and reality.
All right, back on track. So if you look at that, Bulaga came. Bulaga. This isn't helping my point.
Iowa.
But
Bulaga, Iowa.
Iowa. But this new, I know he was the. It's weird that he's doing this because he was the offensive line coach last year, and now he's stepping into an assistant offensive line coach, which is interesting.
I said the same thing. We're seeing all these lateral moves. This is like a downward
Lateral
move to be
down.
a part of the staff, you know?
So, and who knows? Maybe he has a great relationship. I know people were talking about Alejandro Villanueva, the giant tackle over at on the Steelers, is like a free agent, I think. So maybe bring him over a left tackle. There's so many things that could happen. I'm just saying it happened last year, not saying it will happen this year, but just pointing out something that kind of, was obvious to me. So who knows? We'll see. He's an assistant. It's just a weird side lateral move. Also, like was the main offensive line coach, and now he's an assistant for us. So it's crazy.
You know why he's here? He's here because Brandon wants him here. That's why. Brandon's not picking from the bottom of the barrel. Brandon's not going, well, who's out there? Is it?
He is thinking outside the box and going after
Sean
guys.
Sarat anybody got a line on Sean Sarat?
Get him on the horn.
He's not doing that. He's like, I want Sean Sarat. If he was fine with Campen, he would have kept Campen, but he does. I mean,
I'm not seeing his old colleges on his resume, so I'm not sure where that stands.
So that means that there was something in him that he saw that he loved and said, get me Sarat.
Can I tell you the most interesting, craziest hire of all the coaches so far, in my opinion?
Yes.
Is our new tight ends coach.
Yes.
Who is 31 years old. Kyle, you're this guy's age, essentially. So Kevin Koger. What are you doing with your life, bro? You could be an NFL head coach. Yeah, an NFL coach. But he was at 31, he was the Green Bay Packers offensive quality control coach. So I guess he was kind of like a what was our guy from Hard Knocks this last year?
Juice box guy.
No, not juice box guy.
Ryan. Yeah.
Rex Ryan's son.
Rex Ryan's son. Yeah, so he's taking a weird step and he's 31 years old. Like, this is going to be the youngest staff of all time, dude. Like, it's nuts.
So it's interesting thinking back to Quentin Meeks' interview last week. Remember, he talked about how he was kind of excited about Urban Meyer to bring some of that college football culture to the locker room.
Yeah.
It's interesting to think of what the culture change will be inside the Chargers organization, because obviously not necessarily they're all college coaches, but they are all young coaches.
Yeah.
Our vet is like 47 years old.
Yeah,
if I'm not
AARP.
mistaken, that's like the oldest guy on our staff.
Yeah,
that's
for sure.
That's just a different, like there's the energy that was from our special teams coordinator in his interview. It's different, man. We lost like 40 years off of our coordinator from year to year. And that's a big difference. Like, I don't know. I'm just excited to see what it does.
I am too.
Maybe good, maybe bad, but this is a big drastic change in everything that is our coaching staff.
It's exciting not knowing what could happen. It absolutely could blow up in the face of everybody. It 100% could. It just doesn't feel that way. I mean, especially looking at all the other coaches that have been hired this offseason and comparing them to Brandon Staley. Like, Brandon Staley comes across as like the most professional, well-spoken, knows what he wants coach comparatively to any other new head coach out there possibly outside of Urban Meyer.
Did you guys hear that Sirianni? So we've had crazy head coach thing. Did you hear?
Oh, I don't.
He was a former Charger, but
He was.
whoa,
Yeah.
Oh,
another
poor sweet
super
soul. That was hard.
cringe press conference.
Yeah, don't go listen to his press conference.
That's what I'm talking about. Outside of Urban Meyer, which Urban Meyer hasn't been proven yet in the NFL, Brandon Staley just feels like head and shoulders above all the other new hired coach.
I have one other comment about the Kevin Koger hire.
Yes.
Do you hire a 31-year-old tight end coach if you don't have a proven Pro Bowl tight end? What does this do with the idea of Hunter Henry? Like, are you going to bring in a young coach like that if you're going to let Hunter Henry walk and you have potentially either a young guy or you bring in an old vet that doesn't? I don't know. Like I
like this take.
Believe,
so you're guaranteeing Hunter Henry's coming back. I like it.
Yeah, it makes me
Put your
believe that
stamp
they
on it.
have the idea that we're going to re-sign Hunter and we can have a younger coach because our tight end room is going to stay pretty much unchanged. And it's okay if we have a younger guy there.
I like the reach. I don't know if it's true, but I like it. I'm gonna inherit that. I'm taking that.
Reaches. I'm taking takes.
I'm gonna take that with me. Put that in my
miss
pocket.
100% of the shots you don't take. You know what I mean?
100%. Shoot away, boss.
AMC GameStop. Let's go.
I love it. Looking at some of the possible departures, Joe Barry, who, I mean,
what the fuck happened
here? He
here?
just got here. Is apparently interviewing with the Packers for a defensive coordinator position.
Dude, like, how does that work? Did he sign a contract? Is he on? And then, like, he literally just got hired like 10 days ago. Like, what?
I don't see why he couldn't leave. I mean, as long as it's a vertical job change, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I think if it was horizontal, then he couldn't. I don't know what all the freaking rules are. They're impossible to keep track of.
And I forgot to mention,
how are you supposed to do this as a fan? I don't even know. We have a podcast and I still can't figure it out.
And I forgot to mention, like, I was a little under the weather earlier this week, so I went back and watched. I had time to myself, and I watched the Hard Knocks all over again. And Joe Barry was on it most of the show. Like, Staley, he was on it twice, and it was him in the background of some other shot. Like, he was not the forefront. I honestly, looking back at it, Joe Barry was featured so much as the linebacker coach because he was with the fudge backer. Remember the fudge backer?
Yeah.
Yep.
He was with the fudge backer so much. He's like, I'm going to make that beautiful. It's going to be poetry out of my mouth. And Joe Barry's just standing there like, what the is this kid doing?
Weirdo.
In hindsight, like, quit being a weirdo. So, yeah, it was interesting because was a big part of that show. So you get to see a little bit more of how he's communicating. It seemed like he'd be a good person to keep. Hopefully he doesn't get the job. I'd like to keep him. That's weird.
That's a desirable job. Yeah, he might be gone. See you later.
So you're saying he's gone?
I'm saying there's a chance.
All we know is that he's interviewing. He hasn't received the job yet, but just weird that, you know, he just came over this offseason and now before he even makes an impact, he could potentially be gone.
I hope he didn't set up his office.
It speaks to a good hire, right? Brandon Staley's making good hires. They're already being wanted by other teams.
You were with the Chargers? Oh, my God.
Oh, shit. We got to get you in here.
Yeah, technically, you can put us on his resume, technically.
Oh, you mean Brandon Staley wanted you?
Brandon Staley's Chargers?
Bring him in.
God.
He's already got the touch, dude. He hasn't coached a game yet or a practice.
Get him on the horn.
Get him on the horn.
As we mentioned, Pep Hamilton no longer with us. He will be heading off to Houston, and that train wreck.
And that shit show.
Yeah.
They're going to need, if he's gone, they're going to need him because here's the thing. If Pep Hamilton goes there and it's not Deshaun Watson, which it probably will be, but if it's not, and he takes whoever that is to like a really good season, you know it's Pep Hamilton.
Rookie quarterback he takes up. Yeah.
You know it's Pep Hamilton then. You know that he has something. So there's an element of me where I'd like to see Deshaun Watson get traded somewhere so that way we could see what Pep Hamilton does with another guy.
Or Pep Hamilton goes there, the rookie quarterback doesn't go well, and it just proves how freaking G Justin Herbert is.
It's very clean. It's a very clean.
It gives us a lot of conclusions. It'll
let you easily connect the dots. Like that would be an easy connect the dots situation.
Call that a litmus test. All right. And another sad loss from the Chargers staff. John Lott, son of a gun. Holla at your boy. Boy, posted like a whole video of setting up the U-Haul truck and everything.
Yeah, he like drove away. It was like sad. He like had his little U-Haul attached to his truck and just drove off into the sunset.
That's not the most strength and conditioning coach truck I've ever seen. It's like an F-350 King Ranch
2003.
4x4. Yeah.
You should have fucked some shit up.
So sad to see you go, John Lai. You were definitely one of the favorites from Hard Knocks, and hopefully we get to see you on some Hard Knocks in the future.
Hopefully, I think, and maybe we bring in like a yoga specific person, keep all these hips
Flexible,
and the joints from
loosey-goosey.
We keep Derwin like flexible, and I don't know. Hopefully they hire some. I'm looking forward to finding out who that strength and conditioning coach is, and I'm gonna go deep dive. I'm gonna scour the internet and figure out what they're into. Hopefully there's some stretching in there.
We will find out. I mean, obviously there seems to be more positions to get hired. We'll see what happens.
I have like 50 more positions to hire, so there's gonna be a lot more names.
We'll see more names as they come out, and we'll talk about each and every one of them. But now it's time to look over to my main man, Coach Kyle, the Coach Duggan. What's going on in that corner of his? What do you got this week, Kyle?
Yeah, so I decided to take a look at the Senior Bowl. It was kind of the only thing going on that we could really break down and analyze, because I don't give a crap about the AFC NFC championship games because the Chargers weren't playing in it. So I wanted to look at specific players, obviously, that might be a fit for where we are drafting in this upcoming draft. But as I look at the game, I went into it with, it's so hard to watch a Senior Bowl because you don't know who's on the field when. So you're just like that half a second before the play, when they leave some obnoxious interview back to the play, you're like hustling to look at gold helmets and blue helmets and see who's where. So it is kind of hard, but I wanted just to take an overview of who stood out. Like, who's those guys that stood out as they are either making big plays or you see them in between, like hustling in and out, getting guys hyped up, who's calling the plays on defense, those types of things. Because we don't need a quarterback. So that's the easiest position to evaluate at a Senior
they all
Bowl.
sucked anyway. So
yeah, I feel bad for anyone that needs to draft a quarterback outside of Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields, because that was trash. Yeah, that was not very fun to watch. But I wanted to look at who was making plays, who kind of stood out. Just as I watched as a casual fan, who are those guys that stood out? And there were a couple. I looked at kind of our positions of need for the most part. There was one fullback thrown in there just because he's got the best nickname in all the world, and he just destroyed a couple guys. But I think Gabe Neighbors and Justin are like BFFs. So
what was his nickname?
What was the guy's nickname?
His name was Ben Bench Mason because he benched 315 pounds freshman year of high school.
I like it.
Nice.
Yeah, Ben the Bench
Give me
Mason.
the bench.
It's like Bud Heavy and the bench on the same offense would be awesome.
Oh, that would be nasty. Yeah, Bud Heavy. They both have mullets. Oh,
yeah, hell yeah.
So sweet.
Love that.
Yeah, so there was actually quite a few guys. So I have like 6 guys here. I'm going to go kind of quickly talk about what stood out just as I was watching as a casual viewer. So Keith Taylor was the first guy, cornerback out of Washington. Obviously, I think that's a position of address. Whether we keep Mike Davis or not, it's something that we need to address mid-round. Casey Hayward's not getting younger. He had a little bit of a down year, I'm hoping, due to injury. But it is a position that needs depth. After that, we had like safeties that we had bumped out the corner at a portion of the year. So Keith Taylor is a cornerback from the University of Washington. He just made some big plays. He had some really good pass breakups. The coverages that they were able to run in the Senior Bowl were really limited. They didn't get to do a whole lot of stuff. There wasn't really anything tricky. It was kind of just a base. For what I saw, a lot of the time they just were running man-to-man, allowing the wide receivers to show off what they had. So it was a lot of man-to-man coverage, which is good to see because we haven't traditionally run a lot of man. We don't have guys that can really do that at an elite level. So it would be nice to bring in a guy that can do something like that. He was really long. He was a long guy, like 6'2", which is very rare at the corner position. So it was good to see a guy like that make some big plays. His stock may have risen a little bit with his performance in the Senior Bowl because he had a couple of good pass breakups. But a guy like that was fun to see. He was making plays. A guy that I think we could get undrafted, to be honest, or like 7th round guy is a guy by the name of Grant Stewart. If you watched the Senior Bowl, you probably saw him, didn't think anything of him. He plays linebacker, traditionally like kind of in my opinion, a 3-4 outside linebacker type. He's a shorter guy. I want to say he's probably 5'11", 5'10". He had this Troy Polamalu long hair, curly hair.
Oh,
coming out the
yeah,
back
I
of his
remember
helmet.
that guy. Yeah.
See what I mean? That's the kind of guy that in the Senior Bowl, you take note. You remember him.
Yeah,
'Cause
he
on
was out of
special
his
teams-
mind after plays.
Dude,
he was going crazy.
First punt on special teams, he went down there and just laid a guy out, like
Which is
Right.
what we're
biggest hit
looking
of the
for.
game.
Yeah.
That laid him out. But he was calling plays for the defense. Obviously, has a good understanding, and the coaches trusted him to be able to get everything in. He was nonstop energy, man. He made a play, jumped up, sprinted back to the huddle, getting ready to call the play, just flying around the field. He almost blocked a punt too on special teams. He was
Okay, I want him.
inches
Sign me
away
up.
from blocking a
Seventh
punt.
round. Put him in the 7th round on my mock draft.
Yeah. So Grant Stewart out of Houston. I would love to see him. I liked watching him play. It was as a football fan, it was fun to watch him play the game. The guys that get up and do the obnoxious celebrations, personally, I don't love it. I'm just like, dude,
Not a fan.
cool tackle you made for a gain of 2. Get back to the huddle and do it again.
Yeah. Cool story, bro.
Yeah. But this guy was no business. No messing around. He just made his plays, flew around, got in spots, and he's kind of a versatile. I think Brandon Staley could do some cool stuff and getting him in different packages and stuff. I think one of the guys that came up on a lot of the post-game analysis was Dylan Raduns, the North Dakota State offensive tackle. But yeah, he looked aggressive. He looked really strong. He was just like when in his pass sets, he wasn't running away or lunging at all. He was just like very stout and set in what he was doing. A big run, I saw him running downfield like 40 yards, and the boy could scoot. He was getting down there. It was a run opposite side. They were running to the right. He had some responsibility of maybe cutting off a safety or something. The guy didn't show, and so he just kept hoofing it down there. And the boy could move, so that was cool to see.
And I think on him, he was named the offensive practice player of the week. So that's pretty big to step in from a smaller program like North Dakota State and then walk up into some of this bigger competition and be named the
And stand
main
out.
dude. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy that he did. But it scares me that a small school guy, you hope you can get on the cheap. You know what I mean? Like, you hope you can have that steal in the draft in this 3rd round because he's from a smaller school. Even though North Dakota State could probably beat a good majority of the Division I programs, it's just they have these huge Senior Bowls. Their stock's going to fly through the roof, and then what? We have to take him at 13. Like that scares me.
And keep in mind that these stock prices aren't going anywhere because there's not going to be a combine. There's not going to be any of this.
There's
So
no
this is
combine.
the last time a lot of these anyone's going to see college football players before the draft. So he's pretty high up there.
They have their pro days at the school, but
It's
I
not at
guess
the
it's gonna
level
be
of
very
this.
limited capacity,
Yeah.
and it's all cookie cutter catered to them and what they do best. So
Yeah.
it's hard. It's true. Like, his stock did rise a lot. It would have been nice if we knew that our scouts were already high on him, and then for whatever reason he tweaked his ankle like Mac Jones apparently, and then he didn't get to play. But yeah, the guy showed out. He looked like a good prospect. I always get scared of drafting. I don't know. This is probably most people, but Division I AA guy or FCS, whatever they call it now, in the 1st round. I don't know. I don't know if it's because of our boy Trey Pipkins, but it scares me drafting small school guys that play that offensive tackle position. I think it's just too soon.
Your feelings are valid there, sir. It's understandable.
Yeah, but he looked dominant. Even and Pipkins didn't play in that Senior Bowl against and you get to see him compare against the top pass rushers in the country. He held his own. So that's a potential. Hopefully he lands in the 2nd and we can get him there. Type of a guy. Darling Hayes was a outside linebacker that played really well. He just seemed to always be around the ball. A Notre Dame guy that he was just always around the ball.
He's Notre Dame. We'll probably draft him.
Yeah, that's the guy.
Right.
I think Drew Tranquil tweeted out, going like, "Hey, you should maybe come on over here now."
Yeah, he was just, I don't know. He was just always around the ball. There's just some guys in football. You're like, I don't know how he does it, but somehow the ball's always coming right to him and he makes a play. and those types of things, there's intangibles. That's why the combine to me is the Olympic underwear Olympics, because you're out there running a 40. That doesn't translate. When you see guys that are just around the ball a lot, that's just like a natural thing that some people have the ability to do. And he was one of those guys. So that I think that would be a good fit for us. The other guy, you guys saw him, he scored a touchdown, Dedrick Felton from UCLA. There was like a lot put on about how Josh Kelly showed out last year, and now this guy is this year. He's a versatile weapon. Can kind of do everything. His first 2 years at UCLA, he was
sorry. What position was he?
He played receiver in the Senior Bowl. He scored the first touchdown of the game. But he played running back the first 2 years of his check that. He played receiver the first 2 years of his career in UCLA. And then he played running back this last two. Once Josh Kelly left, he kind of filled in for him at UCLA. And then now he knows that he needs to make the switch back to receiver. The idea of having a guy that can play running back, but is a receiver type, and adding that dynamic kind of playmaking ability I think that would be pretty exciting. So there was just a couple of more that kind of stood out. Justin Juiced out of Minnesota. He was another cornerback, super long, really good in coverage. He had a couple of big plays. I had mentioned Ben the Bench Mason. He was a fullback out of Michigan. I guess he benched 315 pounds in high school. And like they were doing a spotlight on him his freshman year of high school, and they did a spotlight on him. And the next play, he went and absolutely destroyed a linebacker, just put him right on his butt.
Awesome.
I don't foresee us drafting a fullback this year, but I just wanted to bring him up because he has a sick nickname. The final guy on my list, and this is, to me, I'm like, it's one of those guys you're like, you don't, I don't want this to come off wrong, but like, you don't look like a big playmaker. You don't look super like you're just going to shut everything down. Ellerson Smith out of Northern Iowa, the silly purple helmet. The guy was just making plays. Like he was just in the backfield, disrupting everything. It's like every other play, the guy was making a play. So I would keep an eye on him as kind of a sleeper. Ellerson Smith. I think he's going to rise a lot.
What position?
Based on, he's a defensive end. So he could play like that four technique or 5 technique, whatever we call it in our 3-4, that 5 technique, opposite of Joey Bosa, as kind of a pass rusher, but also run stopper kind of guy. He made a lot of plays. So I don't know. It's hard. Washington Senior Bowl, they're all good. That's why they got invited. So I just wanted to see the guys that kind of stood out. And those were some of the guys.
Nice.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate you checking out some of the boys at the Senior Bowl. And now we look over to an interview with somebody else who had their eyes on the Senior Bowl. Who do we got here, Kev? Yeah,
so a couple weeks ago, I joined the Guilty as Charged podcast. We did that mock coach interview where I played Urban Meyer. So Stephen Hagelin's part of the Guilty as Charged podcast, and he actually had credentials and was had the cut-ups of all the players during the practice, not just the game. So he did some in-depth research on some of these guys. So we caught up with him. We're going to talk to him this week and next week. So this will be like a little something to look forward to. So let's check it out.
Do it.
All right, guys, we're here with a special guest. We are doing a little tiny mini series these next 2 weeks where we're going to be talking with Stephen Hagelin, the writer. He's a writer for the Bolt Beat and the LAFB Network, and he's a co-founder of the Guilty as Charged podcast. Thank you so much for coming on, Stephen.
Yeah, of course. Happy to do it. You know, I've been scouring the Senior Bowl film all weekend long, and it's just been a super fun process for me, and happy to be here to talk about it.
Awesome, man. So we're going to break down a little bit because you had a little better access than most of us did on Senior Bowl and how some of these players were, kind of the breakdowns of them. So, for this week, let's kind of kick it off, with the offensive linemen. And specifically, it's kind of interesting with the Senior Bowl because the Chargers have been known to kind of target some guys at the Senior Bowl, like specifically last year, Justin Herbert. So what did you see out of some of the offensive line prospects this year?
Well, I think in terms of offensive linemen, you got to start with Dylan Radunes, the offensive tackle out of North Dakota State. He was voted the overall practice player of the entire week, regardless of position. I think, unfortunately for Chargers fans, he probably played himself out of their range in the second round. I think he's probably going to be a late first, early second round player because of his performance this week. But in terms of Redunes, like the biggest thing that, I personally wanted to see is how did his strength, his physical profile translate to playing better competition. And he did really well. Other higher profile tackles like Alex Leatherwood struggled with speed. I thought Redunes was fantastic against, Quincy Roche and players like that. So I think Redunes earned himself a lot of money this weekend. And then second for me, if you've been following me, I've been a big guy about James Hudson, the offensive tackle from Cincinnati. He probably would be the second player that earned himself a big pay raise because he's just so raw at the position. He played defensive tackle at Michigan, transferred to Cincinnati to play offensive line, and only has 13 games of offensive tackle play. And I think 2 of them were at the right tackle spot. And so he's just got all the physical upside that you want in an offensive lineman. His technique is raw. You can kind of tell that he plays it like a defensive tackle, just super aggressive every single play. And that's kind of a double-edged sword. It's great. You want to see that aggressiveness, but he definitely has to hone it in a little bit. But he's got great size, great length. And I think those 2 offensive tackles probably were the best tackles down in Mobile.
Are you worried? Because the first thing that comes to mind is some of these guys that are newer or some of these guys that are from smaller schools. The first thing that comes into my mind is Trey Pipkins. Are you worried that, if we're not targeting like a big school name guy who's played 4 years of left tackle, we're setting ourselves up for some trouble again?
Well, I think it depends on their approach because, if you get, like, I'm not saying either of these weren't consideration at 13. I think if the Chargers were to trade back and get Redunes at like the 22nd, 23rd range, I think that would be fine. But I think at 13, they've got enough options of a higher profile guy to start immediately at left tackle. And then, I've been saying this, I honestly think that they should double down at the tackle spot because, you mentioned Trey Pipkins, like Brian Bulaga is probably done after 2021. And so are you going to start Trey Pipkins at that point? I don't think so. I would hope
I'm not feeling that at all.
So I think, like one of my favorite options right now is potentially drafting like an Elijah Vera Tucker at 13. He can play left tackle. He can play left guard. And then you can draft a James Hudson or Deontay Smith from East Carolina as another intriguing guy at 45. And then have that person sit behind Brian Bulaga for a year, be the team's swing tackle. And then for the next, 5 to 8 years, you've got 2, top tier draft capital bookends to protect Justin Herbert because really like that needs to be the priority. Like this 100%. Offensive line needs massive overhaul and fixing. And I think if you do a first and second round pick on the offensive line, I think that is probably the wise thing to do this year.
So from your point of view and breaking down some of these Senior Bowl guys, these all look like more second round into third and deeper kind of players. We're not seeing any top 13 tackles or guards or centers out of this Senior Bowl.
Well, I think Alex Leatherwood probably would be the only offensive lineman that I would consider at 13. He's more of a power scheme blocker, though. I don't know if that necessarily fits what the Chargers are going to do. With the quarterback coach and this tight end coach coming from the Shanahan system, I think they might be, leaning more towards athletic linemen. But yeah, Redunes, I think probably would be the only first rounder of this group. Maybe Creed Humphrey, the center from Oklahoma. But I think at 13, that would be a massive reach.
It seems like tackles are such a priority. Like I know people kind of have their opinions on Feeney, but I've seen a lot of highlights of him driving guys down the field and doing his job. So when you bring in good people around a center that was serviceable and has a good relationship with Justin, I feel like once the wings get stronger, the center, the core. So I'd be worried to draft a center too early.
Yeah, Dan Feeney, I think he has good things about him, and he definitely is better at center than guard. But it's just so hard. Like the Chargers had 6 players make starts at right guard this year, and it's so hard as a center when the only continuity you have is left guard. Like him and Forrest Lamp had, they had good chemistry, good relationship. But then, you're going from Tyree St. Louis to Trey Turner to Ryan Groy to Cole Toner to back to Turner, and it's just
revolver.
That revolving door at right guard does not help a center at all. I wouldn't mind an upgrade over Dan Feeney because, I think Creed Humphrey or Landon Dickerson as centers would be amazing. But, I think the priority has to be, at least in the draft, the priority has to be the tackle spot. Because frankly, the Chargers have just neglected the two spots through the draft really ever since they drafted DJ Fluker. So, to me, I think the smartest thing for offensive linemen is draft 2 tackles in the first and second round this year.
I love it. I'm so on board for that. Protect our golden nugget, if you will. Got to keep that man safe.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. And like worst case scenarios, like one doesn't pan out, but the other one does. And like
I love that.
Like you double dip and you increase your odds of getting a high level tackle. And that's something that the Chargers just, really like. Russell Okung was fine in 2018, but they haven't had a high level tackle since, Marcus McNeil and Jeremy Clary were around. And that's been a long time.
It's been a while. We went through Gaither and did some really weird stuff. And it's just some of the things didn't pan out for us in tackle position. So,
yeah.
All right, man. Well, that'll conclude our first of a couple segments with you. And thank you so much for coming on this week. And we'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds good.
Yeah, so it was awesome having him on. Crossing the podcast streams, if you will. Yeah, never crossed the streams. Ghostbusters told us that, but in this case, it worked really well. And having Stephen on was awesome, and got some good insight on some of the players he was looking at.
That was very good breakdown. Thank you, Stephen, for coming over and explaining it to us, especially to myself. I'm a big dum-dum when it comes to different very niche positions, and I don't watch a lot of college ball, so I mean my influence on who we think we should draft is predicated on everybody else's hot takes. So to hear something from him, a fellow Charger fan and somebody who can give that kind of insight on par with Kyle the Coach Duggan is excellent to have on this show. So thank you for that, Stephen.
Well, Adam, if it makes you feel better, even the pros that get paid to do this get it wrong about 95% of the time.
Yeah. So you're saying
we're all just out here guessing and hoping.
I've got a future in the NFL.
If you play your cards right, you may be the next Todd McShay.
Hey.
So what you do is you get a hat and you get some paper and you write down names on a piece of paper. And then you take that, you turn it upside down, you put them in there, and then you reach in, kind of shuffle it around a little bit, and then you pull out a name, and then
mock draft.
Yeah.
2.0.
Solid.
Love it. Again, thank you, Stephen, for coming over. We really appreciate it. And now we've got our fan focus. Apparently we got a twofer for this episode.
Oh yeah, this is an interesting episode. We'll get to this first one. It's a really good guy. His name's Ross, another outside of California, a Charger fan. So let's peep game on Ross.
Get me Ross on the horn.
All right, we're here with another fan focus, and this week we have a very similar story. A Charger fan from outside of California. We have Ross from Pennsylvania. How's it going, Ross?
I'm doing great.
Awesome, man. Thanks for coming on. So, all right, cool. Let's just get into it. How did you become a Charger fan? And I ask this every week. You're a Pennsylvania Charger fan. How'd you become a Charger fan?
Yeah, so I live in Erie, Pennsylvania, which is 2 hours away from Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and Buffalo. So there's a ton of football fans.
Sure.
Yeah, my neighbors are Bills fans. My uncle's a Browns fan. My relatives in Pittsburgh are Steelers fans. My dad's a Cowboys fan. But probably around like 2013, I got an older version of Madden. I had to pick a team, obviously, to play my friends. So I was just scrolling through all the teams, and the lightning bolt appeared up, and I was just automatically drawn into it, and their colors. And their jerseys are just great. Somehow they've gotten better. So I started using the Chargers. And so Madden 08 and 09, they had Phillip Rivers. That's just my favorite player. They had LT Gates. Probably the next year, 2014, I started watching NFL games with my dad, but not easy to get Chargers games around here, obviously. So I just had to get any way to stay up to date, highlights. Yeah, so I've been a Chargers fan for 7 years now and just watch the games every week. And
that's awesome, man. Stay strong. You're in like a football, like little triangle of different teams. That's crazy, man. All right, cool. So then, let's kind of just talk a little bit about, we have a new season come on the horizon. We got a lot of exciting things that we're going to get into. What are you most looking forward to about the upcoming season?
I mean, I hope Duran's healthy because he's just a playmaker. He makes an absolute difference. And Herbert just was great last year. Hopefully he continues that.
Yeah, that's so much fun. The Herbert thing is just every Charger fan I talk to, it's like, yeah, Herbert's our super exciting thing we have to look forward to. So that's awesome. So, you were just talking about it. So what are your thoughts on, our new coach? It's kind of an exciting time, a lot of changes, a lot of new things happening. We're getting younger on the field and we're getting younger in the coaching room. So tell us a little bit about your thoughts on our new coach.
Yeah, I was very surprised by this, but I like it. He's young. He's going to connect with the players really well. He's innovative. He's just going to change it up on the defense. And he was a former quarterback, so I think he can relate to Herbert, and I just hope they really connect.
So as a Charger fan, what do you do in the off season? How do you get your Charger fix, if you will?
Just stay up to date on free agents, like just wondering if we're going to keep Henry, Mike Williams, see what happens with them, and then see what guys we pick up. Hopefully we can pick up a couple good guys. Just get prepared for the draft. That's pretty exciting. Hopefully we buff up the O-line a lot.
Amen, for sure. I'm fully on board with that. All right, Ross, well, we appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for taking the time and coming on and joining us, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Okay, love you, bye.
Okay, love you, bye. Ross, my man. Dude, something that, the more you talk to a lot of the fans that are reaching out to us and that we get to do on these fan focuses, you're learning there's a lot of young fans, man. And it's really exciting that, there's this new fan base that's being kind of reinforced underneath some of us old timers. You know what I mean? It's really cool. And thank you, Madden, because I think Madden's brought in like 5 or 6 people to the Chargers.
Without video games and LaDainian Tomlinson, I don't know if we would have a fan base.
Seriously.
And some sick-ass uniforms, let's be honest. He picked the team because of the uniforms. Fan for 7 years. Right. That's impressive, Ross. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. And
once you get past that 5 mark, you're in.
Yeah. You get your token. But speaking of young Charger fans, I'm so excited. I'm also making an effort to breed young Charger fans. So
wait, hang on. Before you put up the sound bit, what did they refer to me as? You know what I'm talking about, Kevin. What title did this fan focus dub me?
Assistant King of the Dads?
No.
No, that's what he said.
He dubbed me King of the Dads, and then you had a talking to with him, and then he changed his mind.
No, he changed it on his own. Okay, so we're
go ahead. Introduce your son.
So we were having dinner the other night, and he's like, Dad, I want to come on their podcast. I was like, oh, okay. All right, well, let's go. And he had a little insight. So just to set this up, like I, in the middle of Missouri, I say it almost every week. And so is he. And he goes to preschool. And guess what? I'm surrounded by some Dick Chief fans, and he's surrounded by some Dick Chief fans kids. So let's get into this podcast interview. Fan focus. Here's my son. All right, we are here with a very special guest. Yeah, this special guest. What's your name?
Stellan.
Stellan? Who are you, Stellan?
I'm 5 years old and I'm afraid of spiders.
You're afraid of spiders?
Yeah, because it's too scary for me, but I'm not afraid of Spider-Man.
Fair enough. I like that. Okay, cool. So you are my son, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. What's your favorite football team?
Chargers.
Why are the Chargers your favorite football team?
Because they're the best.
They are the best. I completely agree with you. They're the best. Okay, very important question. And the reason why we're doing this right now is at dinner last night, you told me a story about your school because you go to preschool, right?
Yeah.
So what happened at your preschool? You said you had a friend that was telling you that they had the best team. Who was it?
Violetta.
Violetta. What did Violetta say?
Violetta said that the Chiefs are the best. But
no way. She said that to you?
Yeah.
What did you say back to her?
I said, Chargers are the more best.
That's kind of a crazy story because you go to school in Missouri, so you got a lot of Chiefs fans around you, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. So you pound it, brother. Charger fans in a Chief world. Okay. So who is your favorite Charger football player?
Justin Herbert.
Why is Justin Herbert your favorite football player?
Because he threw the ball 4,000 yards.
That's impressive. Okay, cool. So we made a deal. We said that if you could sit down and watch an entire football game and watch the whole thing and not get distracted, what would I take you to do?
To go to a real football game.
Go to a real football game. And guess what you did?
What?
You sat and watched an entire football game. So next year, guess what we're going to do?
What?
We're going to try our best to go to a live football game. Give me a pound.
Yeah, but Dad, we have to go to Kansas City football game?
Then we're gonna go to LA for a football game. How about that?
But how many full movies do we have to watch?
So I think if you watch 2 full movies on your iPad, we would get to LA. So that's how many movies it would take to get there. Okay, so this is your first time being on YouTube. What do people say after they're on YouTube?
I think I have to go to the bathroom first.
Okay. So this is the first time I've interviewed somebody, and halfway through an interview, they've had to use the restroom. So I'm just going to kind of wait here and see. I think we're done with the bathroom. 1 second.
Oh, that was stinky in that bathroom.
All right, you're back. Thanks for coming back.
You're welcome.
So thank you for coming on our show, Stelly. We really appreciate it. And what do you want to tell everybody on YouTube to do for our channel?
Everyone, YouTube lovers, you have to subscribe, hit the bell, and see all the videos, and hit like for notifications.
That's right.
Bye.
Keeps getting older.
Oh my
He got
God.
about 40,000 yards. That's why.
He outed a serious
Oh my
deuce
God.
that somebody took in the bathroom too. Way to go, buddy. Oh my God. Yeah, he's that's my son Stellan. He's he's a 5-year-old Charger fan, and
Oh my God.
yeah. He's
I
afraid
love
of
him so
spiders,
much.
but not Spider-Man.
That's how I'm introducing myself from now on. My name is Adam, and I'm afraid of spiders. What
Adam,
are we doing?
We need to hear your best Stellan. We need to hear your best Stellan impression.
Oh
in one
man,
of these
I'll try to
Ask
bring it out.
Twitters.
Yeah, and ask Twitter. Somebody special will
Okay.
get the Stellan Duggan approach.
Thanks, buddy.
Dude,
Thanks for coming
Stellan.
on, my man.
Stellan,
You're the
I
man.
am the king of the dads, and I love you so much.
Yeah,
That was
dude,
a
if you
huge
listen
freaking
to
thing,
him
man.
as you should, you're the assistant king to the dads. I'm the king of the dads. So fact. All right, let's move on
Facts.
quickly before you can say
All
anything.
right. Well, thank you, Stellan. Appreciate it. Man, you're the best, man. That was too damn funny. All right. Well, now it's time to look to one of our best follower, fan, chatty guys.
Field reporters.
reporter. We're going to Craig down on the field. Craig, what's going on out there?
CC gang, what up? It's your fellow boat brother, Craig in Texas, and I'm going through Chargers withdrawals already. I'm also a little hocked up on this pre-workout that just kicked in, so bear with me. I want to talk a little bit about off-season moves in regards to the direction that Staley wants to take the team. I know that the guy is all about crafting a scheme to fit his roster, which is all well and good, but at some point, I think the guy's going to want to build this thing out in his own image. So I'm really curious to see the collaborative effort between he and Telesco moving forward, talking free agency, draft picks, all of the above. Telesco hasn't fared all that well in the rounds where I feel teams are developed, and that's in 3 through 5. I mean, you get core depth there, key special teams guys, and hopefully guys that develop into potential starters and key contributors. He's got a lot of misses there, more than hits, that's for sure. So, wonder whether or not he's going to take a step back and allow the kid to, let's say, shop for the groceries while he pushes the cart. Think it's probably best for him. He can't afford many more missteps. His job's probably attached to this last hire. That said, always anxious to see what you guys think about things. Let me know how you feel about it and what you think he should do. Telesco, that is. I'm going to go try to lift a house or something now. Okay, love you, bye.
Somebody just lost a house because he probably could lift it.
Fucking He-Manned it over, dude. I don't know if you've seen a picture of that guy on Twitter. It scared the
He
shit
is
out of me.
ripped.
I'm glad he's on our team.
That's right.
But yeah, like I completely agree with they're letting him cook right now.
Mhm.
They're letting him pick the ingredients with the coaches. I don't know why that would stop with the players. I'm sure there'll be some input, which is what he's wanting from everyone. Right. But I think there'll be an interesting, approach. And even Telesco admitted that he's not given his coaches some of the best, talent special teams wise specifically.
Really?
So yeah, there was some comment he made about that after the fact where he, he could do better on that.
Yeah. I think, twofold. I think one, you're now going to be building a roster based on your 3-4 defense. So there's more linebackers, less defensive linemen. So I think he'll have some input on that. But from what I've seen so far, and this may be off, I think that they're going to have a similar strategy when it comes to the draft. And I think that the way that Telesco drafts is best available. He's not a huge, this is a big need. Let's go address it in the draft. And in my opinion, I think that Staley is going to be a similar type of guy, right? What he said so much is about how he builds his team around what he has. Justin Herbert's our best player. We're going to build our offense around that guy. Our defense has a guy like Derwin James and Joey Bosa. Let's build our defense around those guys. That to me would infer to a guy that likes to build around the best possible players that you can have. Not, hey, we have a big need here at defensive tackle. We need to address it right now or else. It's no, give me the best roster that you can give me with the most talent, and I'll go behind the scenes and make it all work the way that it should.
I want to believe that, but at a certain point, you have to look at what our needs are as a team.
I think we don't want to believe that. I think as Charger fans, we want the need addressed.
Yeah. I don't know. I at a certain point, I get what you're saying. Like, you build around what you have, and he knows what we have right now. If he's the mastermind that we are to believe, he knows what we have right now, and he knows what it would take to push us up to the next level. And I don't think that's necessarily drafting the best player available. That's filling those holes, filling those cracks so that we become a better, well-rounded team. So that's what I'd like to think that he is aware of. He knows who's going to be here for the foreseeable future and knows what players will make those players better as far as filling the positions, drafting, free agency, and stuff like that.
Yeah, and specifically, this question is talking about rounds 3 through 5.
Correct.
Right? This is not talking about first, second, where obviously we're going to draft a tackle. Needs to happen.
Let's hope so, please.
Possibly in both rounds. But the rest of the way, it's that 3 through 5 is difficult. It gets, that's not an easy place to draft.
True.
You are evaluating talent that all kind of looks the same. So what are you drafting, right? Are you drafting best available, or are you drafting, hey, this is a need that we're going to need in 3 years, and this guy could fill that spot?
I think you're going to go best available, but I think it's going to be best available with a focus, which is a little different than what we've done last year. Like some of the, if we're picking up any wide receivers this year, I'm going to be a little confused. I think defense is going to be, I think early on, it's just the necessity of linemen. And then, the secondary linebackers, safeties, cornerbacks. I think you focus your attention there because the new defense and he's going to be able to put a stamp on picking these players. So I think that's where those will happen. And then those will also turn into special teams players. So it's addressing something while picking the best available that helps the team all around. That's what I think is going to happen.
But going back to Craig's question, do we think that they're going to do you think Brandon Staley has a much different philosophy than Tom Telesco? And if he did, do you think he would have got the job? But his question is, do you think that they're going to turn the reins over a little bit more to Staley as opposed to what they did with Lynn?
I think they will.
Yeah, why would you allow him to have the freedom that he's had so far, only to put the chokehold on him when it comes time to picking the players that are actually going to be out there on the field?
It's like, whoa, don't step. This is the line.
I'll let you pick the color of the car, but I'm not going to let you pick the car.
Yeah,
you're driving a mom van. Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, you got to let him. I mean, everybody's going to have an opinion, but I think if you're going to let him cook, then you let him cook. You don't just let him pick the coaching staff. This is him building his ship. Whether it floats or sinks remains to be seen. But for all accounts and purposes, this is, his team.
So fans, if you agree with these hot takes from Kevin and Adam, if this draft tanks, don't come barking up Tom Telesco's tree then. Because what we're saying right now is if he's saying, I'm putting everything in Staley.
Well, I think either way, it's going to be Telesco's fault.
Right.
Either way, he's the man that's going to be responsible for this. They're going to be barking up his tree. It's what you get as being the GM of a football team.
It
so
all
that's what
goes
he's going to get.
Right.
So
yeah,
it's either your fault for letting him make those decisions,
or it's your fault for making decisions.
Yeah.
So I think that's just the way it is. And like I said, this is going to be the weirdest offseason in terms of the draft because the norms are gone. this pandemic has forced us into this new weird world of senior pro days, the Senior Bowl being like the biggest thing of the off season. So there's just going to be I'm curious to see how they're going to analyze these players and decide who they want. And I think when you get into a room like that, where you really have to analyze, it's not as clean as watching your underwear Olympics and kind of like fall back on somebody that like ran a good 40. You really need to analyze football players. So I think, with that in mind, I think he's really good. Staley's really good at analyzing some of these players and how to make them better. So I think with him and Telesco's had good drafts. I think you let Telesco do his top 3 draft picks and then hand it over to Staley and get the things that, Tommy T hasn't been known to execute the best in the draft.
I like it. A little bit of a hybrid approach from the Huggin.
Yeah.
Interesting.
All right. Thank you, Craig from Texas. Always good to hear from you. And now it's time to look over to Ask Twitter. And boy, howdy, there are a lot of you, and some of you cheesy, crazy, have a mouthful here. I'm gonna need a sip of water in between here, but
maybe a cookie.
I got about half a cookie over there waiting for me. Let's start it off with one of my old favorites. It's Tyler Foffey, aka the Iowa Bolt Fan 54,
the Foffster,
the Foffmeister. He's back, and he's got a question. It goes a little something like this: curious to know your thoughts on a wide receiver situation. Keenan is locked up for years to come, but after 2021, Mike, T. Billy, and Guyton are all free agents. Do we address this in the draft? Maybe rounds 2 through 4. Re-sign some of the guys we got or look to free agency. Bolt up, Kate. Love you, bye.
I'll just jump in. I think Herbert's going to make whoever really is around him shine if he has enough time to work with them. Like he made Guyton, T. Billy shine this year, and just that was out of the sheer reason he was on the second team with those guys during training camp. So I'm not super worried about the wide receiver position. The one big one is the Mike Williams and what you do with him after this year. This is a make or break year for him, and I think that's a big thing. So I think you probably re-sign some of these guys. You're still looking at who do we have? We have Hill, we have Reed, we have some guys that haven't really been talked about that were decent draft picks that haven't been given an opportunity. So let's let Herbert go and have an offseason with all these guys where he is the QB1, getting all the first team reps. So let's just give him time to work it out with those guys. And I think, we'll be in good shape. In terms of focusing on the draft, like I said in the last thing we talked about, I would not be pumped if we're drafting any wide receivers with the needs that we have for this team moving forward, my opinion.
I think that if a guy falls, one of your guys falls to a place where you feel like it's a steal, you take it. I think that KJ Hill and Joe Reed, it's just hard to say this after 1 year and not much exposure. But if a guy like Jalen Guyton and T. Billy are starting over them instantly, it's hard to say that they're going to magically come along all of a sudden. It's going to be a big year. So it's like, do you preemptively invest in the future, even if maybe your future's already there? Because what Mike Williams does this year is going to be huge for what we do next offseason. So I think in a later round, if a guy that you were pretty high on that has similar skill sets to a Mike falls, I think maybe you do go with a wide receiver. But we want to win now, and that's the NFL nowadays. Is you need to win right now, and we need an offensive line to be able to do that. So the cap is going down, and our cap is. We have some, but not a huge amount. I don't see us being able to go out and pick up a couple of big offensive linemen. So
unless you drop Trey Turner and get some of that money back, you could rework.
But you're still going to lose some of that too. That's just going to be lost money in the cap. So yeah, that's a really good question. I think we may go wide receiver, but I think it'll be late. And if somebody falls, if not, I don't see it being somewhere that we are addressing with a lot of emphasis.
And then who knows? Maybe it's a first round pick and it just came out of absolutely nowhere. That's just the way it goes.
Yeah, we trade up and we get the Heisman Trophy winner. Who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah, I don't see a big need at wide receiver. And if somebody does happen to fall, they better be freaking amazing. They better be ready to go day one if they do. But it doesn't feel right. Thank you, Tyler. Always good to hear from you. Next, we've got Gnarly Ray Jepson, aka Pumps89, who asks the question: what's one big off-season signing training you'd like to see this year? Personally, I'd like to see us go after Marshawn Latimer and lock him up for a long-term deal. Saints are way over cap, even with Breeze retiring, and I feel like we could trade Hayward and some mid-round picks for him. Can I get an amen?
Holy shit. That was a good one. What are we calling that? I'm going to request that a lot.
That's going to be, that's my evangelical hallelujah. Can I get an amen?
That's so good, dude. Kyle, you jump on this. What do you think?
So for me, my guy, and I don't know if this is going to happen. I don't know how much money he wants. Just based on Staley's relationship with him and what he was able to get out of him last year in the defense that Staley runs, I think Leonard Floyd would be a pretty cool pickup. He played that edge rush outside linebacker for him on the Rams, and he had a career year. I think it's a really easy plug and play with the loss of Melvin Ingram. And he could be a pretty big impact player for us. I don't know how it fits with our cap. I don't. It addresses a very real need for us in a guy that you may not have to. I mean, he had a good year last year, but before last year, he didn't do a whole lot. So you may be able to get him on a decent contract, and he may want to come back and play for Staley with what we've heard of past guys loving how much they love Brandon Staley. So I think that would be a pretty big signing for us if we can get Leonard Floyd on the squad.
I'll take a shot in the dark and just look at just like throwing darts at a board and picking a name. I'm going to say Austin Blythe, who is the center for the Rams. It feels like Staley is pulling people over who have worked with him in the past. Obviously, Austin Blythe is on the other side of the ball, but center, I think if we can get somebody that fits that center position and let Feeney go over to his natural position, I think that could be exciting. He's only been around since 2016, so maybe, I don't know. I don't analyze players. That's certainly not my forte, if you will. But I know that center or anything center is a need. Dan Feeney's played well. I don't want Dan Feeney to play center. I want him to play the position that he was born to play.
Just like our fan focus, like he said, like right guard has been an absolute catastrophe.
Yeah.
Being able to plug Feeney in there and be a solid guy that starts all 16 games could be game changing for our whole team.
Big time.
Totally.
So I'd like to try to get somebody in that center position. Austin Blythe at least has the history of playing with the Rams. So there you go. That's my opinion. Take it or leave it. Meh. All right. Thank you, Gnarly Ray, for creating that discussion. Next, we've got Zach Marincic, who asks the question. How do you guys feel about picking up Johnny Johnson from Oregon, one of Herbert's favorite targets in college?
Sassy Pirate. Happy birthday, Sassy Pirate.
He's sassy. Who's Johnny Johnson?
If we're going to reunite Justin Herbert with a former teammate, I want it to be Penei Sewell, and that's about it. We've kind of talked about how we want a wide receiver. I mean, I'm sure he was very productive in Oregon's system, but yeah, I don't, that just doesn't I mean, that's not something that's taken into consideration in a draft of, did you get along with this guy in college? So I don't know. Yeah. I don't foresee us really, we drafted 2 wide receivers in last year's draft. I don't know. I just don't, in my gut, deep down in there, I don't feel a wide receiver as a pick for us this year.
And I can't speak specifically to Johnny Johnson, but from all I've heard is that, the reason why Herbert wasn't the top pick in everyone's draft was he wasn't throwing to the best talent. He had a lot of drops, a lot of wide receiver drops on that Oregon offense those last couple of years that he played there. So I'm not sure. I don't know enough about Johnny Johnson to be honest, but I kind of would lean into Kyle. If you're going to reunite somebody, I'd love to see Herbert lifting Sewell up into the air as well.
That would be,
like, I've had the time of my life and I never felt this way before. And I swear,
let's do the whole song.
True.
Keep going, yeah.
Because I want Penei Sewell. That's what I got.
Well, thanks for that, Zach. Johnny Johnson.
I do like Johnny Johnson as a name.
Johnny Johnson's a great name. That's you don't hear that very often. So I mean, if he falls far enough to the point where he becomes an undrafted, free agent, I don't mind us. Bring him out. Let's have a little reunion. In the practice squad.
Johnny Johnson.
Johnny Johnson coming in hot. All right. Next we've got Dane, aka Bolt Up Baby, who asked the question. If Coach Staley implements his Eagle front with the Chargers, who do you think will be the two outside linebackers on the line scrimmage? Nuosu, maybe Egbule.
So good.
I don't know. I think that the idea of a quote unquote two outside linebackers, here's the hard thing with defenses. Like, you could say they're a linebacker and you could put anyone there. You could put Derwin James there on occasion. And I think we will see him there sometimes. I think you're going to see a mixture. I think you could see Joey Bosa out there sometimes. That's what adds to the element of this defense is it's so fluctuating. It's going to look like a 4-3 sometimes where you have Joey and whoever another defensive end on the other side. And you're like, wait, I thought we were on a 3-4. It's going to be very complex. So it's hard to say, hey, these two guys are going to play as outside linebacker the entire game, because I just don't foresee that happening. I think that the change definitely helps any outside linebacker that we had on our team, the two that you mentioned, like an Nwosu and Egbule. I think obviously their skill sets match that position really well to be able to get more opportunity. But I don't think it's going to be it's not like hey, these 11 guys are our defense and that's who you're going to see all game. I think it's going to be something that's so dynamic and fluid that you're going to be like, wait, who the hell made that play? Where did he come from? Why? And the idea of an Eagle 3-4 defense means there's really only 2 defensive linemen and like 5 linebackers, but they're just in different positions that you're not used to seeing them. So it's just a very fluid thing that it's hard to say, hey, these 2 guys are the 2 outside linebackers in a 3-4. Because the whole idea of this defense is it gives you so many different looks. You don't know who's blitzing because you're going to bring someone every play because you're only bringing 3 if you only bring your defensive lineman. So yeah, it's hard to say, hey, these 2 guys are going to be the outside linebackers. I think for anyone to be able to say that. I don't even think Coach Staley would say, yeah, these are the guys that are going to be the outside linebackers.
Keep it close to the chest. I like it. All right. Thank you, Dane. Appreciate it. Next, we've got Michael Thompson, a.k.a. Michael 4719544, who asked the question, do you think Coach Staley would consider putting Kaiser White at safety along with Derwin James? He was a beast at West Virginia. Was that his position at West Virginia?
Yeah. So he was a safety in college. I think that he fits. I think that's what we love about a guy like Kaiser White, a guy like Derwin James. I think they can play a lot of positions. And what allows you to do is to disguise coverage on every single play, because you don't know if Derwin's lining up as an outside linebacker, as a safety, as a linebacker, as a nickel corner. You don't know what he's lining up as. And I think that Kaiser White is a guy kind of like that. I think he has solidified his abilities as a linebacker. And I think that he could, I don't know. I just don't think we've seen enough of his ability to rush the passer, but I think that outside linebacker spot makes a lot of sense. You have to be a versatile guy that can drop in coverage, but you also have to be physical enough to come up and kind of set an edge. And that sounds like a safety linebacker hybrid kind of guy that Kaiser we may have not seen the best of Kaiser because he was playing in a position that he was just learning. And now this adds that kind of safety coverage guy kind of back into his position that I don't know. It's hard, man. These are all really good questions. In my opinion, I don't think you're going to see Kaiser White as a safety. No, I don't think he's going to drop back as if we're running too high, which they run a lot of in Coach Staley's defense, too high, meaning 2 deep safeties at the snap. I don't think he's going to be one of the 2 high safeties. I think he'll be utilized as one of those outside guys, or just a dynamic kind of mix things up kind of guy.
Does it make sense now that you've had a whole year with Rayshawn Jenkins playing that safety position? Is he more like ready to step into that position next to Derwin back there with a little more experience in that safety position?
Yeah, I think you put Rayshon back to free if he's on the squad. I think that's where he excelled. They put him down in the strong safety spot, and it was tough for him. But it does give him probably more confidence in a 2-high scheme. So when you run 2 high safeties instead of 1, you only run a 1 high safety and cover 3, cover 1. You run a 2 high safety. So when you look at the defense before the snap, there's 2 guys at like 12 yards, 10 to 12 yards. But it takes 1 guy out of your box. The box is in between the tackles. So you get a little bit light against the run. It's a little bit tougher to stop the run because you now, instead of having like 7, 8 guys in the box, you now only have the 5 or 6. So what will help Rayshon is he has had a year of playing at the strong safety. So he's more comfortable. All right, now we have 2 high. If you have Derwin and Rayshon, he'll be more maybe comfortable with coming down in the box to help stop the run than maybe he was last year. I think that may be a benefit for him having Derwin out all last year.
I like it. Thank you, Michael Thompson. Appreciate it. Next, we've got Get Some Sports, who asked the question.
At what point do the Chargers look at not picking at 13 and explore trade opportunities for that pick down, or use the pick entirely for a possible stud veteran for free agency leverage? At what point?
I think that the idea of trading that for a free agent veteran, the kind of guy that you're going to give up a first round pick for, is going to cost a lot of money. And that's not really in our cap space. That's not really in the DNA of our team to generally do something like that. We don't need a quarterback, so I don't understand giving up a first round pick for anything but a quarterback nowadays. So I don't see us trading it in free agent leverage. Trading down, look, if the Chargers have 3 guys at the top tier offensive tackle, and then there's a big drop to the number 4 guy, and all 3 guys go before us, I could see us exploring a trade down. Other than that, I think you're going to take if you have a 1 tier offensive tackle that's still on the board, that's who you take. So I think it's impossible for us to know right now until day of draft. I don't think we're going to have any pre-draft trade go on.
I think one thing that's been interesting since we started even talking about this is that Penei Sewell, like when we were drafting 4th, remember before we started racking up those wins, we weren't going to get him because he was going to be a top 3 pick. I'm starting to see a lot of people, now that you're seeing some of these like exciting position groups have, flashing and stuff, I'm seeing on certain people's mocks him falling down a little bit.
The guy hasn't played in 2 years. It's crazy.
Yeah. So let him fall. I think if he falls to a place within like 4 or 5 picks of where we are right now, you go for him. I think that's the one place where you could trade up to go get him. That would be the only one that makes sense for me in terms of what I've seen. And then trading back can make sense if you're trying to scoop up some 2nd and 3rd round picks that we didn't have that last year. We had our 2 firsts, and then we kind of took a break on day 2 for a little bit. So, we didn't really have that capital. So it'll be curious to see what they think of the tackles at this place at 13, and if it's worth stepping up for Penei, or if it's worth hopping back a little bit. So that's the one scenario I would see them moving up for.
It's not fair how far away draft day is, and it's not fair that we have to waddle through a Super Bowl that nobody gives a shit about right now unless you live in Kansas City or Tampa Bay. So yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Get Some Sports, for sparking that conversation. Appreciate it. And next we've got Kevin Hayes' fan account, aka Grown Up Gambino, who asked the question, who will be the real king of SoFi? J-Hub or Stafford?
Who was that?
That was my Bob Dylan. Gonna think it's on from the Kevin Hayes fan account. So it's not even a fucking question. It's Justin fucking Herbert. How fucking dare you? Kevin Hayes fan account.
Oh my God.
How is it even a question? Give me Kevin Hayes on the phone. Get him on the horn. You son of... I know it's a silly question. It's Justin Herbert, though. Don't...
It's
It's not a question.
for sure.
But yeah, in conclusion, our answer,
it's Justin
who
Herbert.
is Justin Herbert?
Fucking Herbert.
All right. Now we're going over, we're still asking questions. I can't, this is going to be so long. And now we're going down a different avenue. We're looking over to Reddit in the Chargers subreddit section. You guys asked us some questions. We really appreciate that. We're going to start it off here with 803 Tiger 72, who asked the question.
My question is this. How bad does the loss of Pep Hamilton affect Herbert's development in year 2? Is Pep's replacement overall a net gain, net loss, or about the same?
I honestly, it's so funny that the first Reddit question sounds like it's like a stock. Net gain, net loss, after all everything that just
What's
happened.
my return on investment?
Yeah. This is the one hire I'm the most worried about. This is that scenario where Pep Hamilton goes somewhere and does really well. He becomes a head coach eventually. Like, this is the one thing I'm worried about. And you know, our new quarterback coach Shane Day, like, he hasn't, if you look at the teams he's been with, and they're not really known to have the top quarterbacks in the league. You know, Garoppolo is who we just had, and I'm worried.
What if this is the thought process? What if Brandon Staley's like, you know what, Tommy T, hire whoever you want. I'm the quarterback coach. I played quarterback at Dayton. I know how to do this. Give me Justin Herbert.
Like pieces of shit like you for breakfast.
No, but in all honesty, I think that is the biggest, like, that's the one area of concern that everyone wanted Pep to stay.
Everyone.
In some capacity. So there's no way for us to know. There's absolutely no way. My prediction is
gain.
Because we're a shamelessly positive podcast, that it will not affect his upward trajectory into Hall of Fame stardom.
Next year, he'll be in the Hall of Fame.
If anything, he should just get better. He's gone through so many previous coaches in the past. I think he's just plucking little bits and tidbits from each and every one of them.
He's gotten what he can from Pep. He's ready to move on.
He's got the infinity gauntlet of quarterback coaches, so he keeps adding little jewels to his infinity gauntlet, and he is fucking Thanos, baby.
40,000 yards. He can
40,000 yards.
Thanos is completely.
All right. Thank you, Tiger, of the 803 area code. Next, we've got Zool420. Nice. Who asked the question?
What does the team do in free agency? Do we cut Trey Turner and Casey Hayward for more cap space? Do we sign a veteran O-line to give us more flexibility in the draft? What do you guys think?
The thought, I like the words cut and Trey Turner all next to each other. Like, that just sounds good to me.
It better happen.
You mean release?
I'd be fine with that. I think Casey Hayward just had a down year. He's been great until this year. And then that's the thing. Do we want to draft an offensive lineman, or do we want to go attack one in free agency? That's the stressful predicament we're in. And I just don't know, because we don't have good track records either way. So it's a shit show. Whatever you want, pick one.
I want to say both, like Kyle said, because we do have some money to spend. But I also know that we've got a slew of guys who are due to not come back next year unless we pay them some money. So, God.
And a lot of our linemen were not making a lot of money. We did that one podcast maybe a month or two ago where we looked at how much everyone was making. And our offensive line is like one of the lowest in terms of value of what they're making on the entire roster.
Sam Tevy had a decent year. He's going to get paid more.
Oh, yeah.
Than what he's getting paid.
Yeah, 100%. So it's such a weird position the Chargers are in right now.
Cut Trey Turner, keep Casey Hayward, draft an offensive
I think if you can cut Trey Turner, if you can cut Trey Turner and swap him out for a different veteran lineman that, you know, isn't as fragile
or just sucky,
or, generally sucky, I think that would be great. So thank you, Zool420, for asking that question. Next, we go down to Okie Doggy, who asks the question.
Oh shit, Okie Doggy, you just made Kyle do a spit take.
Something about the way Adam just said Okie Doggy. As if it was some breaking news on ESPN. Okie doggy.
Who asked the question?
In your ideal draft, how would the first 3 picks go? Example, IOL in round 1, OT in round 2, CB in round 3. And if we go IOL, would you want a center or a guard?
I like the idea of lineman, corner. If we do go interior lineman, I think center. I think we could re-sign Forrest Lamp for not much. And I think that you give him a short, like a 1-year deal, because everyone. So here's the deal with free agency: the cap fell for the first time in forever. It got lowered. So there's some free agents out there that are probably willing to sign a prove it deal. Like, hey, this is not the year I want to sign my big deal because no one has money. So like you could keep some of these guys, like a Forrest. He did not have a great year, but he was healthy all year and he was decent. So and I understand we want
warm bodies.
I know that we would prefer to have a Pro Bowler at all 5 positions. On the offensive
what's
line,
wrong with that?
But that's not going to happen. So like, I would prefer Feeney Lamp with a high drafted center, as opposed to drafting a guard and keeping Feeney at center, and then God knows what is that. If you keep Lamp with a rookie and Feeney, I don't know. Personally, that's what I think. Obviously, round 1 we're going tackle. Round 2, I think also offensive line, just because we have like 12 years of not drafting a lineman to make up for. And then in the 3rd round, I think that's what for me is going to be the most exciting to see. If we go corner, edge rusher, add depth at that outside linebacker spot, or you get a flyer and get a wide receiver and see Kevin's head explode.
So, Kyle, I think something that a lot of people aren't talking about, and we haven't really addressed too either, is that, with Phillip Rivers leaving us, we're going to get a compensatory 3rd round picks. We're going to have 2 3rd round picks this year. So this is going to be a big year for us in that mid range, like those 3rd round guys. I think that'll be huge for us this year. And huge. So 2 3rd round picks from what I'm gathering. They haven't decided on where they're dishing it out yet, like where we are in that round. But 2 3rd round picks, you're gonna be pretty sweet.
Or draft capital to move up and get Penei Sewell.
Or do that. Sign me up.
Yeah, dude. Oh god, it's too far away. There's so many possibilities of what could happen. It sucks. I just want to know what's going to happen.
Just want you to know it sucks.
Warm bodies, and this sucks.
All right. Thank you, Okie Doggy. We appreciate it. Next, we've got A. Collins 32, who asked the question.
What are some realistic expectations for the Chargers in 2021? If Chargers had another sub 500 year, will we give Staley a pass because it's his first year? I gotta pee.
You making fun
I'm not
of
making fun of
him. You bastard.
None of these voices are making fun of anyone.
I know.
They're
Calm
impersonations.
down. Oh my god, that was really funny.
It's so funny.
That was funny.
Oh my
he's
god,
so cute.
He's adorable.
Okay, here's my thing. Every year, the expectation is to make the playoffs. That's all.
Win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That's
the goal.
That's what
I guess that not
That's not the
expectation.
expectation.
here's the thing.
desire.
I think the
That's my one.
expectation is to make the playoffs. I think that is just a uniform. Whenever I start a Charger season, I am always expecting to make the playoffs. Whether that was with Mike McCoy, didn't happen once. Whether that was with Norv Turner, whatever coach we had, the expectation was to make the playoffs. I don't think it's any different now. And even more so, I expect to make the playoffs with what Staley is bringing to us, or what he's supposed to be bringing to us, and the quality of talent we have. So the expectation should always be, before we get to the draft, is make the playoffs, in my opinion. I think that's the bar that is set already.
And when it comes to the idea of a quote unquote pass, the guy's not going to get fired after 1 year, if that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Will it be okay? Like, as fans, are we going to be happy if we're 500 again? No. And it's going to be like, all right, dude, you didn't do it this year. You better do it next year. It's going to be it's going to be on your resume that, no, you didn't get it done in your first year. You're not going to get fired for it, but it will lead to a second year with a lot more questions than right now. We're just all on that Brandon Staley hype train.
It's such a fresh train. There's nothing happened to it. It's like the cleanest, most pristine thing heading down the tracks. And you even saying 500 next to Staley's name kind of like I'd never even considered that. Like in my mind, we're winning. We're getting the playoffs every year under this guy. So I think it's, we're so shamelessly positive, managing realistic
Your optimism,
expectations.
Kevin, just inspires me.
I have 7 months. I need to be optimistic, man. I cannot be downer about this.
Thank you, Collins32. Next, we've got Trick1994, who asks the question.
What are some immediate impacts you are predicting that Coach Staley will have in the Bolts defense in year one compared to what we were seeing before?
I think it's going to be drastically different.
I hope it is.
Like, almost everything about it is going to look different. You're going to see 2 high safeties a lot. You're going to see 3 like big boys on the field and a lot more linebacker, quick, agile types. Blitzes are going to look a lot different. In all honesty, it's going to be polarizingly different in almost every aspect. I don't really know what else to say. It's going to be very, very different. Our defense is going to look a lot I assume if he does what he's done in the past, unless he tries to make like a hybrid year based on the roster we're able to construct. But I think it's going to look a lot different.
I hope so. He's come out and said that he's going to be calling the plays. He hasn't necessarily said that he's going to be changing the defensive structure, I guess, for lack of a better
Yeah, he has.
Has?
Yeah.
All right, then. Apparently, I wasn't listening.
And the idea of so what's the one knock on Staley is he doesn't have a huge amount of coaching experience at the NFL level. I would hope he does what he's comfortable doing.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
He hasn't had a lot of experience at the NFL level under a bunch of different philosophies. So do what you're comfortable with as long as you have what you think is the roster to be able to do it. You obviously don't want to try to fit a square peg into a round hole, but as long as you have the roster to do it, do what you're comfortable with. That way you can be confident in your decisions and play calling.
I like it. Next, we've got Z the King 1, who asked the question.
Do you think it would be wise to cut Mike Williams and elevate the titles of the guys Herbert had chemistry with last year? Or even draft/sign a new wide receiver? Or do you think Mike Williams is worth money for next year, even if we cannot restructure his deal to be more cap-friendly?
I like that. That was like a Butters that turned into... I loved it.
That's my sassy Southern lawyer. I just want to ask a question. It goes a little something like this. I declare.
I think Mike Williams is like still Mike Williams.
Yeah,
he's
worth
Herbert
the cap
hasn't,
that we're paying him this year.
Herbert hasn't had the time to work with him. I don't think specifically. He didn't run much preseason with him, and you saw the guys that he was running with is excelling. Yeah, and he still had success with Mike Williams. He just had a down year. Dude, he's still Mike Williams. He's a top 5 pick for a reason. The fact that we have him locked up and we've already scheduled to pay him, I think you lock on. And if he proves it and gets a bigger contract, and we have two guys like him and Keenan Allen for the long haul, that's awesome. But I don't see any reason in cutting Mike.
No,
there's no. It doesn't make too much sense.
There's negative. When you cut a guy, there's still negative cap space. So you're telling me you're going to bring in a guy that is worth the difference of that cap space and it'd be better than Mike Williams? I don't see it happening.
Yeah,
we're not paying him that much. He's on his 5th-year option on his rookie deal, so he's getting good money, but he's going to get paid a whole lot more next year. So I think to see Justin's ability to throw the deep ball and Mike Williams' ability to catch the deep ball, if Mike can stay, obviously this is all contingent on a Charger player staying healthy. But if Mike Williams can stay healthy and Justin can get that chemistry with him on how he likes balls and where to throw them,
pulling that soundbite.
I think it could be pretty. It could be pretty exciting.
I love that you caught yourself halfway through that one. I feel like this is like the punch drunk episode. Like
this has been going way too long.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, lastly, I've got. I have to talk about this one because this was a late addition to the Ask Twitter, but he made a request, and doggone it, I've got to make sure we appease our fans.
This one might get us canceled, guys.
No,
this voice might there might be an element of being canceled.
I'm only doing a voice that has already been done on television. I am not making fun of anybody. This is a voice request. Here it comes. This is from Terrell Cooper, a.k.a. Cooper T420. Nice. Who asked the question?
Nice. What would you do with this year's first round pick? Trade it for a player or use it on someone in the draft? Okay, love you, bye.
Oh, Jesus. Oh,
that was the greased up deaf guy from Family Guy. There you go. All right, leave me alone. It was a request. If you want to,
See y'all next year. Forget about it. Don't do something else. See y'all next year.
oh wow.
Can't love you,
Thanks,
bye.
guys.
Can't love you, bye.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, draft the guy. We kind of already touched on that. We just wanted to do it so Adam could do the voice.
there you go. Yeah. I mean, there's a part of me that would get really excited if we trade the pick to get someone higher up in the draft. It scares me a little to trade down because we don't know what talent is going to be available further down in the draft. So it makes my guts get all tingly when I try to figure out what's
you have
happening.
bubble guts. You have bubble guts.
I got my bubble guts. That's why your bathroom's so stinky, Kevin.
How dare you?
All right. Well, Jeezy Creasy. That's the end of this episode, folks. Holy cow.
Woo.
If you stuck around this far, you must have had an Ask Twitter question because I don't know why you would have stuck around to the end. But if you did, thank you so much for sticking around with us, folks. And while we laugh and giggle with each other and have a shamelessly positive good time, it's a blast to be with these two boys every week. So that's going to do it for us here at Charger Chat. Don't forget to bolt up because we're ready for any squad, any place.
Happy birthday, Wool Dog. Okay, love you. Bye.
Okay, love you. Bye.
I'm afraid of spiders.
But not Spider-Man.
And now, a word from our sponsors. Are you irrationally afraid of spiders? Well, you're not alone. Over 6% of the global population suffers from fear of spiders. But good news, there's still hope. Here at Arachnophobics Anonymous, we give people the peace of mind of coming to terms with their arachnophobia by following our multiple-step program. Recognize that you're afraid of spiders.
7. I'm 5 years old and I'm afraid of spiders.
Identify the difference between spiders and Spider-Man.
But I'm not afraid of Spider-Man.
Find peace with your irrational fear of spiders. Remember, it's not about getting over your irrational fear of spiders. It's about accepting it and knowing the difference between spiders and Spider-Man. Call to sign up now and get your life back today.